From17 once again, introducing you to my Darksiders 2 Apocalyptic difficulty video walkthrough. We're still in the Foundry and I'm still talking about Prometheus, so if you've not seen it guys, please tune in once you have, or mute the video. Because I need to reiterate a point I made in the last video, and if you've not seen the movie and you have no interest and you're just listening, I'm going to explain what happens. So, a group of scientists going to an unknown aircraft, or they don't know it's an aircraft at the time, they're going to an unknown environment. These are scientists, folks. These are intelligent people, well versed in their fields. They go further into this environment and their scanners pick up that the setup of this particular place is stimulating, or stimulating? I meant simulating. It's simulating an atmosphere that is extremely similar to Earth, only it's even more potent. The oxygen is as pure as it gets. It's almost the perfect human survivability area. And instead of being like, yeah, that's cool, it's an interesting thing, but let's continue to go forward because, you know, taking our helmet off is pretty much a bad idea in every circumstance. Like, you could go underwater and you could be pretty much 100% guaranteed that you're in an air pocket, but I wouldn't take my fucking helmet off, and I'm not a trained scientist. I'm not, you know, a giant, well-educated person. I'm just a dude talking over gameplay footage. But that's the first thing he does, and everybody's telling him not to do it. It's that moment in Alien where you're like, John Hurt, why the fuck would you stare at the giant egg thing that's opening up like a mouth? Why would you stare at it? Why would you look at it? And if it wasn't for you, we would have never known what xenomorphs were, we would have never known what facehuggers were, and that entire crew would have not been doomed to fucking die. It's your fault, all because you couldn't walk on a goddamn balcony and you ended up falling down where those bloody eggs were. Your fault, John Hurt, I'm blaming you. But it's the same situation. It's like, this guy takes his helmet off, and immediately you're thinking, why would you do that, dude? Why would you do that? There could be stuff in the air that's monstrous. Like, I might be paranoid, but I wouldn't take my helmet off. I just wouldn't. And he does anyway, and it all goes well, and it's a bit of a red herring trying to set you up for something that never actually happens. And they end up seeing this projection of these engineers, or this advanced race. And I'm sitting here watching this projection, thinking to myself, in my simple-mindedness, these infinitely superior beings that have the ability to create ridiculous amounts of technology, and there's a very large chance that they made us, you know, and we as humans believe that we're the marvel of creation, that we're the most perfect fucking thing ever because we've got things like little chefs and rollerblades and Pac-Man video games, and they're running away from something in this place for dear life. Dear life, superhuman guys, Pac-Man video games, running away for dear life. And what do these scientists do? They don't look at this footage and go, I wonder what these monsters, giant things, are running away from that is so terrifying that such an advanced civilization is bawling it out of there like their life depends on it. And instead, they're just going like, ooh, isn't it lovely, ain't it big, ain't it got awesome skin? And they're just nerding out over the fact that they found this life form. And there's alarm bells flashing at this point because I'm on a spaceship with a bunch of retards that are all highly qualified, yet none of them seem to know what the fuck they're doing. And yes, folks, I do appreciate that this is all in the script. It's intentionally put there so that we can have these conflicts that later arise. But there's just, you know, there's the surveyor in me that thinks if these people were in, you know, the labour industry and in charge of building, you know, a structure, then every fucking bridge would sink because these people would not do a very good job. And anyhow, they end up putting themselves into an interesting situation. This interesting situation involves these vases that kind of like melt when the atmosphere changes, and they let out this goo that somehow facilitates these worms that are like cultivated from the earth or in the goo or something along those lines. I'm not too sure. I've only watched it once, and to be completely honest, they don't explain it very well. And you're thinking, yeah, I wouldn't touch that, wouldn't go near that, why would anybody go near that? And there's two members of this group that are completely, you know, on my level. They're with me in my, you know, adventure into this ridiculousness. Because they say, I want nothing to do with this, this is too much for me, I'm just a simple geologist. And they decide to leave and go back to the ship. And I'm thinking, very smart, I like these guys. Clearly the only people in this bunch that have a brain. And you don't think about them for a while because they're not on camera, and then there's a storm that's coming in, and it's coming in really quick, and it's probably because they've disturbed this tomb. And all these scientists, because, you know, it's a ticking clock, it suddenly gets really tense because they've got to get away from this storm because it's going to be super dangerous. And in the space of about 5 seconds, these you know, the remainder of the scientists go from this antechamber in this unknown craft all the way back to the spacecraft with very little ease. Some would say they do it really, really easily. And they do it not only under duress, but they do it in a really quick, you know, fastly edited together montage, and shit goes wrong. One of them gets blown away. He has to, you know, get recovered by the AI on the craft and everything. And everybody's fine, everybody's good. It's like, wow, we survived. And we did this in, what was that, 2 minutes. Then when they go over the comms, it turns out that those 2 geologist guys, who are actually the sane members of the group, they failed to navigate through this cave back to the ship, a feat that the rest of the group did under duress of a storm in the space of about 40 seconds. They had about 15 minutes to do it and somehow got lost. The same people you have in charge of mapping the fucking caves. The same person who is pretty much the designated cartographer. The guy who knows about rocks, who knows about rock formations, who gets lost in a tunnel he's in charge of mapping. And at this point, you're probably thinking, dude, you're overthinking it. Why would you even put this much thought into it? But I can't help it. I'm sat trying to enjoy this film, and it's filled with fucking stupidness. And there's nothing more that takes me out of the film than full-blown stupidness. And I know what you're thinking. You can go back and watch Aliens, and it's complete stupidness. It's a bunch of Americans going, America, fuck yeah, and shooting aliens. And yes, that's exactly what it is, but God, I love that. And I loved it because I was a kid who didn't know anything better. If I watched it now with no nostalgia, no reference, no reverence, I'd probably go, what is this dog shit? But I didn't. And that's why I love Bill Paxton, that's why I love Michael Biehn, and that's why I think Aliens is one of the best action films ever made, and James Cameron is a genius, who unfortunately made Titanic, sold out, and, you know, just went fucking crazy. What did Linda Hamilton do to you, James? Jesus Christ. But back on point, completely ridiculous setup once again, takes me out of the movie, and at this point, we're maybe an hour deep, and we still don't really know any of the members of this crew. The only thing we know is that they're systematically going to be set up to killed, because that's their ultimate function, because they're not telling us about them, they're not giving us any real reason to care, so we automatically know they're not going to live very long. And there's this whole undercurrent storyline of Michael Fassbender, who is the robot, and once again, why would you ever take a robot on these expeditions? These fucking droids, man, you can't trust them. There was Bilbo Baggins in Alien, who turned out to be a giant bastard who you couldn't trust. Bishop was cool. And now Michael Fassbender's being a bastard. An extremely, you know, awesome, well-acted bastard, but bastard nonetheless. And he takes it to an even bigger step, because he's really trying to get, you know, contact with these engineers, because it's his ulterior motive. And because he isn't human, he doesn't have the tropes that human has, and he has this distance from, you know, emotions that a sociopath has, and it makes for some really interesting scenes. And I find it kind of ironic that the only inhuman character in the film has the most character progression. It's like, you gave the fucking robot more of a personality than the main protagonist. Because the main protagonist is this foreign lady who goes through some pretty interesting points of this movie. We understand that she's a scientist and she wants it for the greater good. We also understand that she's also quite a logicist, so she realises that these so-called engineers might not be such nice guys. So she's practical, which I did like, but they throw in this whole infertility thing, and it takes about 5 seconds to explain. They assume the audience is quick enough to get it, and then it's never really mentioned again, although there is quite a traumatic scene that does play reference to it. And all the time I'm just kind of wondering, is this a reference back to Ripley? Because Ripley had a very similar situation, and a very similar scene that actually got cut from the second Alien film, Aliens. And the irony of that getting cut from the film means you have absolutely no real bearing on why Ripley is so attached to Newt and why she tries so hard to save her. Because everybody who's watching is just thinking, why won't you let this noisy kid fucking die? Because all she's doing is ruining this film. Truly is ruining the film. But she's the emotional baggage, she's, you know, the grounding that Ripley needed, and they took that scene out, so you had no real reference. And That's a shame. That watch the director's cut, it's fantastic. But we're carrying on with this dissection of Prometheus, and if you liked it, feel free to tell me what you liked about it, because there is a lot of redeeming factors of this film, and I don't think on its as a standalone, I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think when you put the name Alien in the same sentence as it, you better make a fucking good film, and I don't think they did. For me personally. But back into the story anyway. So Michael Fassbender is trying to sabotage, you know, people's lives so that he can get these engineers to function and to show him what they've come so far to see. And there's almost an unspoken pact made between the happy-go-lucky cavalier fucking sandal-wearing scientist guy who is the boyfriend of the main female protagonist. And Michael Fassbender basically says to him, what would you do to see these engineers in their full glory? And this guy says, anything. So Michael Fassbender, you know, not being human all, takes this as, I will now spike your drink with a drip of this dirty vase water that apparently, you know, makes really bad things happen. And it adds this layer of, you know, mystery, not a word, mystery and dread, because you know something's bad's going to happen, you just don't quite know what. And it turns out that this guy ends up, you know, starting to bloat up. He gets a bunch of black veins all over his face, and there's an interesting scene where the female captain, who is played by Charlize Theron, denies him access on the ship because of fear of contamination. And I'm thinking, awesome, the smartest thing you've said entire film. Everything else has just been grunts and garbles and standing in shadows and acting fierce, and we're not buying it. And now she's speaking logic. And, you know, I'm not going to talk too much about all the details because I do want people to still watch the film and be able to enjoy it. But she sets this guy on fire to stop him getting in the ship, and there's this supposedly emotional moment where he burns to death, and she shows how badass she is and how much she wants to fuck the police and everything. And you're just thinking, is this really what you were putting this film to do, Charlize? Is this literally all you're worth? Because you don't do much more. And she sets this guy on fire, and you're like, well, that works, and everything is all good and dandy. And then they start seeing movement on sensors in this place. And this might be slightly out of order because this all happens quite close to each other. And the two people that got lost inside the aircraft end up having encounters of their own, and they end up having encounters with life forms. And these life forms are serpents that come from this tar-like substance. And these serpents are pretty big, man, and we come from a planet where there are snakes. And I know snakes, original concept. Tiny, some are tiny, some are huge, all depends on size. We generally think the smaller ones are less deadly, even though that's probably not the case, because just look at spiders. But snake is essentially a long piece of rope, you know, with muscles and feelings and shit. Big teeth, lots of venom. Chances are you don't want to go petting these things because, you know, they don't realise that you're a friendly human. They think you're either a meal or a threat. And if they think you're a threat, they go into, you know, response mode, which is kill the threat. And it makes perfect sense. It's biblical in nature. We come from a planet where these are a legitimate threat. They're 1/10 of our size, still a legitimate threat. So what do these extremely educated scientists decide to do? Let's fuck with the alien-esque space snake. And does this scenario end well? Does it, balls? But thanks for watching, guys. I will continue this in the next video, and you take care now.